By the time he was 32 years old, one man had conquered most of the known world. He had marched from Greece to the edge of India, toppled the greatest empire on earth, and founded a city that would shine for 1,000 years. And when he died, they did not hide him. They built him a tomb in the heart of that city, a shrine of gold and glass, where, for roughly 5 centuries, kings and emperors came to stand in silence before his face. And then, slowly, the most famous grave in the ancient world simply disappeared. This is Lost Tombs of the Mighty. Genghis Khan was hidden on purpose. Alexander the Great was lost in plain sight. It begins in Babylon, in the summer of 323 before the Common Era. Alexander, master of an empire stretching across 3 continents, fell ill after a banquet. For nearly 2 weeks the fever climbed, until the conqueror, who had never lost a battle, lost his final one at the age of 32. What killed him, no one can say for certain. The ancient writers blamed fever, or poison, or exhaustion. Modern doctors have added their own. The accounts disagree, and they have disagreed for nearly 2,400 years. But the deeper mystery is not how Alexander died. It is where he went next. His body should have gone home to Macedon, to rest among his ancestors. It never arrived. As his generals tore the empire apart, one of them made an audacious move. Ptolemy, who had claimed Egypt for himself, seized the funeral procession and carried the body south. Possessing Alexander was not sentiment, it was power. Whoever held the conqueror's corpse could claim to be his rightful heir. The body first came to rest at Memphis, Egypt's ancient capital. But Memphis was only a way station. Within a generation it was moved again, to the dazzling new city that carried his name, Alexandria, on the Mediterranean shore. There, the Ptolemies built him a mausoleum worthy of a god. The Greeks called it the Soma, the word simply for the body. Inside, tradition says, Alexander lay embalmed in a coffin of gold, behind the walls of the royal quarter. The tomb became the beating heart of the dynasty. To rule Egypt, the Ptolemies needed Alexander. His presence made them legitimate. His memory made them kings. For 200 years, the Soma stood at the center of the greatest city of the age, until one of those later Ptolemies, desperate for money to pay his soldiers, melted the golden coffin down and replaced it with one of glass. And still they came. When Rome swallowed Egypt, the conquerors became pilgrims. Julius Caesar is said to have stood before him. Augustus, the first Roman emperor, laid a golden crown and flowers on the tomb, and, the story goes, leaned in so clumsily he broke a piece from Alexander's nose. Caligula reportedly took the breastplate for himself. Later, the Emperor Septimius Severus did something stranger. He ordered the tomb sealed, as if to lock the mystery away. Then, in the year 215, the Emperor Caracalla left his own tunic and ring upon the coffin. It is the last visit history can firmly place. After that, the record begins to fall silent. This is the strange thing about Alexander's tomb. There is no dramatic ending, no recorded day when it was destroyed. There is only a fading. The mentions grow fewer, then vague, then stop. Near the end of the 4th century, one writer still describes the preserved body lying on the view. And then, within a single generation, a Christian preacher in the same world could ask aloud where Alexander was buried, and answer that nobody knew. In the space of perhaps 100 years, the best-known grave in the empire slipped from a place you could visit to a question no one could answer. How does that happen? Not in one blow, but in many. The royal quarter where the Soma stood was the most fragile ground in Alexandria. In the year 272, a Roman war shattered much of that district. A century later, a vast earthquake and a wave swept the coast, though how much of the city it ruined is still argued. New laws closed the old pagan temples, and a shrine to a worshipped king had no protection left. The harbor itself was sinking, swallowing palaces into the sea. Rebuild a city often enough, over wreckage and water, and even its most sacred address can be paved over and forgotten. The search to find it again has never really stopped. For more than a century, archaeologists have hunted through Alexandria for any trace of the Soma. A 19th century survey fixed the city's great crossroads near a mosque called Nabi Daniel, where tradition had long whispered Alexander lay, but every search there has come up empty. Others have tried Com El Dika and the old Latin cemeteries. In a quiet city park, a Greek archaeologist has dug for years, pulling a Hellenistic statue from the earth and pressing on, convinced the tomb is close. More than 100 searches have been launched. Not one has produced the body. And where the evidence runs thin, bolder claims rush in. In the 1990s, one excavator announced she had found the tomb far out in the Siwa desert, where Alexander once visited a famous oracle. A team from the Greek government examined the site and rejected the claim outright. It was not even, they said, a Macedonian tomb. Stranger still is a theory that the body never stayed in Egypt at all, that the bones revered in Venice, as St. Mark may, in truth, be Alexander's, smuggled away and renamed to save them. It is a haunting idea, and it remains exactly that, unproven. Step back, and the loss becomes almost unbelievable. This was not a forgotten chieftain in an unmarked field. This was Alexander, perhaps the most famous human being of the ancient world, and we cannot find his grave. It is a reminder of how completely time can erase even the things it once worshipped. And it raises a quieter question. Alexandria today is a living city of millions, and the tomb, if it survives, lies somewhere beneath their streets. To search for the dead, you must respect the living above them. Some doors can only be opened gently, if they are opened at all. So the mystery endures, not because Alexander hid, but because the world above him refused to stand still. A hidden grave, and a famous one it turns out, can vanish just as completely. Somewhere under the streets of Alexandria, or beneath its harbor, the greatest conqueror of antiquity may still be waiting. And he is not the only one. The same city guards another lost tomb, belonging to the last of the line that used Alexander's body to make itself royal, a queen and her general, Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Their grave, too, has never been found. But that is a story for another night.